My name is Vanessa Long, and I've done my research to see what the factors are in people becoming serial killers. This is for English 101. My instructor is Gina Warren, and I'm currently attending Feather River College. Why is TV based on serial killers so intriguing? Documentaries, movies, and TV shows around the world based on serial killers seem to have a hold on viewers. Have you ever thought about why that is? Why are people interested in something so grotesque? Is it simply just a topic that piques people's interest? It seems it is so popularized around the world that people are super desensitized to it. But I think there's another reason why people are so intrigued by murders and serial killers and anything like that. And I found that some believe that people are driven to study them based on an evolutionary subconscious desire to identify potential threats. And that makes sense, considering we have a lot of subconscious desires to protect ourselves. Whenever I've been watching movies, TV shows, or even reading about serial killers, I've always wondered what the factors are that make them become a killer. Like, what has affected them in their lives that made them decide to kill. But there are many, many factors. To identify potential threats posed by serial killers, we should try to understand the factors and motives that drive a person to become a killer. Some of the factors may include physical abuse during childhood, mental illnesses, bullying, and I'm sure there are a lot of other factors like the environment that they grew up in, if their parents were religious or not, anything like that. But I'm mostly focusing on these three. And there are others, of course. So there are 4 motive categories: visionary, mission-oriented, hedonistic, and power or control. So behind every serial killing or mass shooting, there's always some sort of context for it. And I feel like these motive categories are very to the point with that. As you can see in the picture down below, hedonistic is kind of like thrill seeker or for fun, and others may be for some specific reason, like they're trying to get back for what happened to them in their childhood by taking power or control over someone else, etc. So let's look at what serial homicide is really defined as. Serial homicide, as defined by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is the unlawful killing of 2 or more victims in separate events. Serial homicide is an intentional, premeditated act, not a crime carried out on impulse or in response to a perceived provocation or threat. It makes sense that serial homicide is intentional since there are multiple victims. There are obvious cases of accidental murder such as manslaughter, but cases like this are not normally found in serial murder. It is a good idea to look into the childhoods of these serial killers in order to understand them more. It can potentially make it easier to predict the warning signs of potential killers. This is important to further understand the motives and reasonings behind serial homicide. So, childhood abuse has been strongly associated with many serial killers. On average, 50% of killers suggest that they have experienced psychological abuse, 36% have experienced physical abuse, and 26% have experienced sexual abuse. The conclusion here is that abuse in childhood can lead to a serial killer's later behavior. This isn't necessarily a motive, this is more considered why they may have turned out the way that they did. Basically a factor in them becoming a murderer. Different types of abuse inflicted on serial killers can have an effect on the methods of killing they use. Killers that were sexually abused typically become psychopathic sexual sadists. Those who are physically abused are more likely to demonstrate overkill of their victim. The most specifically violent methods of killing were practiced by those who had been sexually or psychologically abused early in life. So then that leads us to different killing typologies. Different types of abuse also led to the different typologies of killing. So there is a rape-lust typology. There's an abuse and anger typology, a power typology, and also things such as killing for financial gain. And that is also a typology. It's just worded differently. So along with the abuse inflicted on serial killers being a factor in motive for them to kill, serial killers inflicting abuse on animals in their youth can also be a contributor. Serial killers who indulged in prolonged torture of their victims were more apt to have a history of animal torture in their youth. Many infamous killers harmed animals when they were children, including Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, and John Wayne Gacy. And, like in documentaries and movies and whatnot, they show this a lot, so I feel like it is very well associated with serial killers. The familiarity of cruelty with animals such as cats and dogs and the want for more is a huge motive to murder humans for some killers. Since they've already done it and it's easy for them to do it to animals, they think about doing it to humans and what it would be like. So as a group, serial killers suffer from a variety of mental illnesses, such as personality disorders, psychopathy, depression, bipolar disorder, and others. This makes sense to me in the way that some of them had mental illnesses that equipped them to eventually kill. Not all people with mental disorders murder people, but this, on top of other environmental factors, probably played a huge part in why they decided to murder. So what? Why is this topic something that people should care about? Well, there's a vast amount of evidence that supports the idea that physical abuse, mental health, and more contribute to the makings of serial killers. We as a society are obsessed with the stories of murder, and it's important to understand the backstories and context of these killers in order to understand these people and maybe prevent tragedies in the future. My name is Vanessa Long again. Thank you for listening. And have a good day.